These days, it's not enough to own stocks that are just going up. You need to own the names that are beating the market, outperforming the indexes, outperforming the S&P 500. Because it's so easy to own those ETFs that, hey, if something's not outperforming SPY, why do you need to own it? Today, we're going to show you exactly how to find those names that are outperforming the market. We call that relative strength. We're going to put it on your charts, and in just one click, you're going to be able to scan for the stocks that are outperforming SPY over multiple time frames. Lots to cover. You know what it is. It's all new. It's all here. It's Stock Charts in Focus. All right, everyone, welcome to the show. My name is Grayson Rose, author of Trading for Dummies and director of operations here at StockCharts.com. Fantastic, as always, to be with you. An important episode talking about relative strength, the most important thing that you can use as a chartist. These days, like we said in the open, it is so easy to own the market. You've got options out there like SPY and VTI, different ETFs that make it incredibly easy to own great indexes like the S&P 500. So if you're going to put your neck out there, you're going to own something that is an individual stock or an individual ETF even, you got to know that it's outperforming the market. Because hey, if it's not outperforming something like SPY, why don't you just go make it easy on yourself? Buy the S&P 500. Thankfully, you can do this very, very easily on stock charts. You can find those names that are beating the market, beating the indexes, beating SPY. And we've made it even easier very recently with some new features just added to our scan engine. You can now scan for relative strength. You can scan for stocks that are beating SPY or any benchmark of your choosing over any time frame that you want. We're going to show you how to do it over the last 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 52-week highs relative to SPY, 52-week highs against the market. It couldn't be easier. You're going to do this in one click. Plus, I'll show you how I put it on my charts to make relative strength a component of every chart that I look at. So let's jump over to the site and take a look. All right, guys, so first and foremost, let's talk about what relative strength is. Many of you probably know this, but for anyone who doesn't, I want to make sure that you are totally familiar with what we're talking about today. Here's a chart of NVIDIA, obviously one of the big names that has been leading the market higher, outperforming the market, has been a huge winner of a name, especially over the last year and a half, 2 years. What NVIDIA has done is outperformed the market. We know that NVIDIA has gone up faster than something like the S&P 500. We call that outperformance. We call that relative strength. And you can see it right on your charts using this line right up at the top of the screen. So this is my default chart. You can actually access this down here on the Sharp Charts workbench. If you jump into our chart style library, pop over to the experts group and then look for my name right here. You'll actually be able to get a chart that looks very, very similar to this. This is what I look at for every symbol though. This is showing me this symbol versus, in my case, VTI, which is the Vanguard Total Index. You could swap this out for SPY and it would do something very, very similar. It's going to show you how whatever you're charting is performing against a benchmark like VTI, the total US stock market, or SPY, the S&P 500. Couldn't be easier. If this line is going up, you know that whatever you're looking at is outperforming your benchmark, outperforming the indexes. If this line starts going down, you know that whatever you're looking at is underperforming the indexes. Now this is set up with a little trick here on the workbench. I'm using the price performance indicator down here in the indicators section, and I've got $symbol : VTI. That's how I've added it to these charts. That means that whatever symbol I'm looking at, it's going to take that symbol and it's going to compare it to VTI. We could swap this out for something like SPY, for instance, and now up top here, you can see that this is a relative strength line against the S&P 500. As I change ticker symbols, let's say I switch over to Apple, you can see that this is a very, very different look. Over the last year and a half, Apple's actually underperformed the S&P 500 by 15%. So in this case, why not just own the S&P 500? Apple's underperforming. Why wouldn't you just own SPY? So easy to do it these days. We can look at other stocks like Microsoft. Here's a different look. You can see that relative strength line moving higher. This is really the secret sauce when you're looking at individual stocks or individual ETFs. Here, for instance, is a cybersecurity ETF. You can do the same thing. We can compare this to a benchmark using relative strength. We want to see these lines going up. We want to own things that are outperforming the market. After all, if your mission is to beat the S&P 500 or beat your benchmark, you got to own things that are beating the benchmark. The secret is relative strength. Now, you can find things that are going up on an absolute basis. The stock itself, the ETF itself is going up. But if it's going up slower than the total market or slower than whatever your benchmark is, you're actually underperforming. That relative strength line is going to be going down. So relative strength, a key component of all of my charts, so many other technicians out there as well. And like we showed you, you can get this on your charts very easily. The exciting thing though, you can also scan for this. We've recently added some functionality to the scan engine that makes it very, very easy to find names that are outperforming your benchmark over a customizable period that you get to choose. If you want new 3-month highs relative to your benchmark, you can do that. If you want new 52-week highs relative to your benchmark, you can do that too. And it's very, very easy. So let's jump away from these charts. We'll show you exactly how to do this. We're going to jump over to our charts and tools page. Top of any page, hit that charts and tools link. That's going to take you right over to our directory of everything that's on the Stock Charts platform. You're going to scroll down a little bit, and under the member only area, you are going to find that sample scan library link. Now you can also find this a little higher up the page over on the right side under that members only group. Once you've found that though, give that a click. And this is going to take you over to one of my new favorite resources on the site. I've been pointing everyone that I can to this page. It is a piece of power right in your hands. A lot of people say, hey, I'd love to use the scanning tools on stock charts, but it's a little bit intimidating. I don't know how to get started. This is the way that you do it. The sample scan library allows you to start scanning in just one click. You don't have to worry about writing any of your scans. All you've got to do is browse this big list of scans that we've written for you and just hit the run button next to anyone that you want to run. So there's a ton in here. You can see that we've organized it too by bullish and bearish scans, different things like technical indicators. We've got candlestick patterns in here, P&F patterns, even a whole bunch from the experts. Here's a scan from David Keller. Here's a Mark Minervini scan, his classic famous trend template. We've also got a whole bunch of scans from my account, things that I like to run on a daily and a weekly basis. All of these can be run in a single click. You don't have to worry about writing any scan code. So very, very cool little resource here. Now, the great thing is that we've recently added some sample scans for relative highs, for relative strength. We've also done the same for relative lows, actually. So under the technical indicators area here on the sample scan library, you can see that you can scan for stocks or ETFs, any symbol making new price highs. But down below that, you can also find things that are leading the market, making new relative highs against SPY. These are going to be stocks that are outperforming SPY. If you're playing the short side of the market, you can do the exact same here with relative lows. So everything that we talk about today, remember that you can also do this kind of on the short side. If you're bearish on the market, you can play names that are underperforming the market, underperforming SPY or whatever benchmark you have. So couldn't be easier to run this. Seriously, all you got to do is navigate over to this one, pick the time frame that makes sense to you. We're going to show you how to customize this in just a second as well. But let's say you want to find stocks that are making new 52-week relative highs against the market. Well, here we go. Run it. All you got to do is hit that big green button. Now you've got a list of 101 names that have come back. All of these are outperforming SPY, and they're actually trading at their highest relative price against SPY over the last 52 weeks, or the last year. So these are going to be incredibly strong names that have been steadily outperforming SPY for the last year. Let's take a look at some of the charts that you get back in here. Again, this is going to come back with my default style. So in my case, I've got that relative strength line right up there at the top. Here we can see APG, for instance, outperformed VTI, my default, over the last year by 89%. Heavily outperformed the market. We can see how strong of a trender that name is. Here's one that has recently popped higher, making new relative highs against VTI, moving higher. Here's one that is is continuing to trend higher, kind of made a breakout a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago, and has been steadily outperforming the market. So you can see that for all of the names that come back in a scan like this, we see great price action on the stock itself. Here's ASX, for instance. You can see a steady trender, great price action in that name itself, sort of on an absolute basis. But we can also see that that's backed by some great relative strength. This is a name that's not just moving higher, it's moving higher faster than my benchmark, VTI. Again, we could swap this out for SPY on the charts, just like we showed you a minute ago. But the key is that you're going to be looking at any of these names relative to the market. You can find those names that are outperforming. Now, if 52-week highs seems a little bit stretched to you, you don't want to find things that have been trending for this long, maybe you want to find things that are just starting to break out. You might want to jump down to a narrower time frame, something like new 3-month relative highs. So in this case, you're going to get a lot more names back. You can see that we've got 201 results here. We can review these with the table view. We can actually hover over the symbols for any of these to kind of get a quick view. There is going to be some overlap between these time frames because obviously anything that's making a new 52-week high is also going to be making a new 3-month high. But this is going to give you maybe a little bit earlier entry into some of these names. So as you kind of breeze through these little mini charts here in the table, for instance, here is a potential turnaround target. ASTE has been making new 3-month highs relative to the market. Might be a little bit of a bottoming phase. So if you're a little bit more risk on, you might want to play some names like that. You can actually view these in a couple of different ways too. We highlighted the sharp charts view on this scan engine. You can breeze through those full size charts right on this page. You can also jump over to the candle glance view though. That's going to give you those little mini charts. When you get a big list, like 200 stocks back from a scan, you can review those little mini charts and find the ones that are set up a little better for kind of what you are interested in. Maybe find the ones that are just starting to break out. For instance, here's EW. That one catches my eye. Let's take a quick look at EW. Here's a name that's making new 3-month highs, again, relative to my benchmark, VTI, and is just kind of threatening a breakout, maybe a bottoming phase here. Maybe we see this start to make a run higher if it can hold the breakout level. So you can find those stocks that might be just setting up for a run, depending on the time frame that you are scanning for. Really, really easy. By the way, if you're a Stock Charts member, once you run these scans, you can save these to a chart list in your own account. Start to work through those lists very, very easily. Whether you use Sharp Charts or ACP, you've got a couple options for saving those results right here. So let's jump back. Again, you got a couple of different time frames. Maybe you want something in the middle like new 9-month relative highs. Not quite the full year, but also not quite as many results as that 3-month high scan. So you got a couple of different options in here. Really, really easy to run these scans though. Review those results. Again, save them to a list in your account. Review those charts right here on the page with Sharp Charts or Candle Glance View. You got a couple of great options built in right there. Now, the next step, though, is that you might want to start to customize these scans a little more. Especially if you are familiar with the scan engine, you kind of know where you're going, know what you're doing. You do have the ability to take these scans, take these sample scans, and start to really make them your own. So, of course, right next to that run button, you've got an edit button. Let's say that 9-month highs make sense to you. You want to find those stocks that are making new 9-month highs against a benchmark of your choosing. Well, you can jump over to the scan syntax for that sample scan by hitting that edit button. Once you jump over here, it's going to put it into kind of a single line. So I like to hit that reformat button down at the bottom, kind of stacks everything up, makes it a little bit easier to see. Now you can actually see that sample scan in its sort of natural format, in its scan syntax kind of view. You can see exactly the criteria that we're using to run those sample scans. The great thing about this is that you can actually start to customize this. You can make it your own. You can add your own criteria. Maybe you want to add some indicators. Maybe you want to add a specific group. Maybe you want to change that market cap level. You got a couple of different options in there. You can also adjust the time frame that you are scanning over. So for instance, if we actually delete this here and we add that price relative indicator from the scan components area down at the bottom. So again, if you're coming from the sample scan area, you can pull in that scan syntax. If you're already on the scan workbench, though, you can also come down to this scan components area, find that price relative indicator under the technical indicators area, and actually select that, hit add, and you'll see that that's going to add it to your scan. So if you've got existing scans that you want to add this criteria to, you can actually find that down here at the bottom. Now, when this adds by default, this is the one of the key pieces that I want to talk about. When this adds by default, it's going to show you price relative today versus that benchmark compared to the last 63 sessions. I want to talk about sort of why we've got 63 in here. There are about 252 trading days on average in a year. So that's going to be new 52-week highs. If you want to find things that are making new 52-week highs, that's going to be about 252. Of course, if you divide that by 4, that's going to give you 63. So new 3-month relative highs are going to be over the last 63 sessions. If we sort of break down this scan syntax, we're looking at stocks that have a price relative to SPY. That's our benchmark. Now we can change that if we want to. We're going to leave it as SPY for now. Price relative to SPY is greater than, is making new highs, greater than price relative to SPY over the last 63 days. It's greater than yesterday's price relative, or the day before that, or the day before that, going back a maximum of 63 days. So what this little snippet here is going to show you are stocks that are making new 3-month highs. We can adjust this. We can make this any number that we want. Again, if we want the 52-week highs, we can turn that into 252. If we want something like 6-month highs, we can take that 63, double it, and that's going to give us 126. So we can start to play with that number. Now, of course, 63 divided by 3 is going to be 21. So if you want 1-month highs, you can type in 21. You get to manipulate that to be anything that you want. The other great part of this is that you get to modify any of the other scan syntax. You can combine this with anything else that you want. So if you want to change this market cap level, for instance, to be maybe 1,000, that's actually going to translate to 10 billion. You can do that, or 1 billion. If you want this to be only stocks above 10 billion, you can add an extra 0 in there. Maybe you want to look for stocks only within the S&P 500. We can do that pretty easily. Come down here to this indexes and ETFs group, and you can select S&P 500 from that area. You'll see that'll give you the scan syntax. You can actually copy that, drop it right up there above, and delete that and. So now it's starting with the group is S&P 500. This little modification is now going to give me S&P 500 stocks above a $10 billion market cap that are making new 1-month highs relative to SPY. We can run that and see how many we get back. 53 names in the S&P 500 over a market cap of 10 billion, of course, making new 1-month highs relative to SPY. So really, really easy to start modifying these, add in any other syntax that you want, or simply leave it on the sample scan library, run these scans, and you're off to the races kind of by just clicking one button. Now, the other great thing too is that if you do save any of these scans for your account, you can also combine different sample scans. So hit edit, save one of these to your account, and then come in here and grab, for instance, the new 52-week highs syntax. So if you want to hit reformat on this one, you'll see the new 52-week highs syntax right there. You could basically copy that over to any of the other sample scans. You can actually start to combine some of these sample scans. So without having to write anything yourself, you've got them combined there into one scan that you can run. This is how you start to build your own criteria into the scan engine. But again, that sample scan library really gives you a great entry point to scanning. Makes it easy, kind of breaks down the barriers, makes it easy to start scanning for some of these things really in just one click. You don't have to worry about writing any of this scan syntax. So a great place to go to get started with scanning, and the place to go now to find those names that are outperforming the market. That's what you want. Again, it's not enough to find things that are going up. You need to find things that are going up faster than the market, faster than your benchmark, things that are outperforming. So that is our show for today. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Stock Charts in Focus. Remember, we do this every Friday, always digging into the site, talking about tools and features, talking about ways to get more out of stock charts, talking about technical analysis and strategies and trading and investing, tons and tons of things that we do with this show. Remember, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below, follow the channel, give this video a like, that helps us out, and leave a comment. Let us know, what are you scanning for? How are you using this new relative strength scanning functionality available now on Stock Charts? Also remember, these are members-only tools, so if you want to get the full power out of Stock Charts, if you want to take your trading and your investing and your technical analysis to the next level, don't forget, start your free 1-month trial today on the Stock Charts website. Sign up. You'll be able to take advantage of all these tools that we're talking about on this show. Again, my name is Grayson Rose, author of Trading for Dummies and Director of Operations here at StockCharts.com. It's been great to be with you. I'll see you soon for our next one. But until then, chart on, my friends.